Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to I Am Rebel podcast. Leo tumeambiwa tusiwaste time hata kidogo.
Leo tunaharakishwa.
I know. Acha tunsimalizie. Leo shout out niko nani safu.
Shout out yangu, my shout out of the week goes to one young man by the name Sanchez. Sanchez ni my G sana. Anakoga engage. And is also a very big fan of the podcast. And nitaga master. But I mean, why can't all of you be like Sanchez? Nakujanga na niambia, we master. Lakini kuna kitu sikuelewa. So ulisema, and then we go reviewing. It is a very, very good man hapa. Kuna mtu mwingine hapa hata, wacha nisimtaje. Hata unaweza pata tele wangi. Unasema nini? Yamemaliza tu story. Yeah, so thanks Sanchez. Shout out to you.
Okay. For me, my shout out for the week, someone called Mike. I met him. I went to a place called Teens Challenge Kenya.
We naona kila mahali.
He does an amazing job. He runs a recovery center. The stats of the place ndo zilinibamba. They have over 90% success rate.
Hey.
Yes.
Yo, okay, that's mad.
And what stood out for me, they incorporate the word of God kwa journey ya our, let me say, the students who join that program. Ni fun mbaya. Yushinda tu akiniuliza episode ikitoka, nimemaliza. Next inatoka lini? And pia ni among watu wanauliza anakuja lini kwa. Yes.
Okay. Thanks for watching, guys, bana.
Tupeleke kwa story.
Nipeleke kwa hadithi. Very, 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 very nice. Aya. Now, before a while ago, you can in the last episode of Ruchan, tulipiga story ya Abraham. Nataka tupige story fulani yake pia later. Na tupige pia story ya mtu mwingine. And I have my reasons. Now, everyone knows the story of Abraham. He stayed akaishi. And God gave him his son, his firstborn, when he was, how old? 100. So there is still hope for you. Now, there is watu wache kutukua ati uko na miaka 50 na ujaoa. Miaka 50 hata
kijana mdogo. Na hata ujaoa meno zote 32.
Ai, hata kitovu japona. Ai. So, huyu
kuna macho nimepewa hadi nikashangaa nasema nini mbaya.
Ai, nini jameni. So, Abraham got his son. And he loved his son dearly. Manze, God tu anatokea out of the blues. And God likes to do this. He's like, this son, he had promised him the great nation would come from this son. That he would inherit his estate. And you know, all hope was there. And God just wakes up and says, bro, unanisikia I want you to take your son, your only son, and take him to a place I'll show you and sacrifice him to me as a burnt offering. Gorgeous. You said, what happened? So Abraham loves God so much that he takes his son and 2 servants. And they go to a place near Moriah. Nilikuwa nataka karibu niseme Horeb. Ningekuwa nje. Moriah. And he takes 2 servants and the boy. And they set out. Sasa kitu watu wanga wajui, that was a 3 days journey. 3 days. Wanaishia. Now, in fact, kuna movie actually wacha nipige shout out. Kuna movie inaitwa His Only Son. Right now iko Angel Studios. Angel Studio is an app for Christian movies and driver comedy and all that kind of stuff. Unaweza watch hapo. It is a very detailed explanation, let me say, of that journey. And Abraham sacrificing his son. Now, anyway, they get to that place and God is like, that's the hill, go sacrifice him there. Anaambia sasa the servants, nyinyi bakini hapa, mimi na huyu kijana we are going there to
offer the sacrifice.
Exactly, we're going there to offer the sacrifice. And so he takes the firewood, he puts on Nani's back, on Isaac, and he takes firewood. Now anaanza kuenda. But Isaac akozileza, what is happening? Excuse me. I have a question. Well, I see the firewood and I see the fire. Where is the sacrifice? Where is the lamb for the sacrifice? And Abraham is like, God will provide the sacrifice. And so wanapanda until wanafika huko juu, and Abraham anageuzia Isaac. Anamshika and he binds him and he lays him on the altar. Now, previously Abraham had another son, alikuwa anaitwa Ishmael. This son, because Abraham listened to his wife Sarah, the world has problems up to today. Because Abraham listened to his wife. Now I'm not saying I'm not saying don't listen to your wife. Please listen to your wife. But listen to God and then listen to your wife. Manze, hizi story tu za babe, I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling down, disappointed, nini. Ashapewa wife wa pili, ashaget mtoi, wife ashafukuzwa, ashamistreatiwa, sijui nini. Abraham ashaanza kuambiwa, now why is this gender like that? Anadu kitu, niko na beshte yangu. Ana watch. Alikuwa analeta nini when when they were married, newly married. Akienda job, wife alikuwa anamwambia kama na chipo, I think ilikuwa na kuku every day. So jamana kama na chipo na kuku, anakama chipo na kuku. Ile siku ana miss, anakasirikiwa, akajamiwa, akasema, you know what, I want to live it in peace. Acha nitange chipo na kuku. Akakuwa analeta. Now of course, after a while, the wife started getting healthier. Tuseme akaanza
kunawiri.
Akaanza kunawiri. And when she realized she was getting fat, guess whose fault it became?
The husband.
Wewe unanileteanga hizi machipundo zinaninonesha hapa. Mbona unaniletea chipo? So you wonder, this gender nikikiuru. Yani chao kidhoko, you know? But it is the same thing. Sarah amembe Abraham, you get a son by my maiden. Alikuwa anaitwa Hagar. And afterwards akamgeuzia. But Ishmael becomes the father of the Arabs, sai wenye wanatusumbua tu dunia mzima tu hapo kote. But Abraham ties down Isaac and he takes out his knife, and as he is going to kumada, an angel shouts, "Stop." And Abraham stops and he looks, his eyes are opened and he sees a ram, and he sacrifices that ram in place of Isaac, and Isaac is spared. Now when God is talking to Abraham in the beginning, alikuwa anasema, take your son, your only son whom you love. Why would God say that when this ninja had two sons? It is a foreshadowing of God talking to himself. Your son, your only begotten son, whom you love, and sacrifice him, which eventually happens at the cross. But tuachane na hiyo story. Tuende kwa jamaa mwingine after the exile. Amejipata Babylon. The king, Darius, it had pleased him. This was the king of kulikuwa na Babylon, who were overthrown by the Persians, Medo-Persian. And so he is the king of Persia. And it pleased him to set 120 satraps to be in charge of his provinces, and to set 3 who would be in charge of this 120, to make sure the king would not suffer loss in his matters. And so one of the 3 main ones was Daniel. a guy called Daniel.
Mhm.
And Daniel excelled. And Daniel he was brilliant. His mind was brilliant. Alikuwa chopi. He was honest. He was diligent. And everything the king put under him prospered. Now, of course, watu wakaanza kukuwa na wivu. And they started looking for ways to implicate Daniel bana achomee kwa king. And they went and looked at the things he was in charge of. Hawakupata makosa. They looked at the finances and nini, everything checked out. Mpaka ikafika point wakaambiana, this guy, unless we find something that has to do with the law of his God, hakuna makosa tutapata. May these things be said about us. Yani tukitaka tu huyu msee afanye kitu wrong, we have to somehow make the law of God be wrong. You know? And that is happening in the world, where vitu zina evolve tu polepole, zinachenjiwa, and being on God's side, you are the rebel, which is why we are rebels, by the way. But wachana na hiyo story. And so they go to the king and they're like, ni aje mkuu, tunakutambua. So do this. Issue a decree that for the next 30 days, no one should be worshipped except you. Mtu anapatikana akiworship atarushwa kwa den of lions. King anaona yo very nice. Yo good. Anamwambia haya sawa. Do hivi ndio ikuwe ukweli nini? Seal it with your signature. Now, when the king seals it with the ring, we talked about this in a previous episode. Even he himself cannot reverse that law. Okay, sign. Now, what ikaspreadiwa all over the kingdom. Now, the Bible says something very interesting. It says that when Daniel heard, what did he do? He went to pray. As he did 3 times a day, anaenda, anafungua window yake, anaface Jerusalem, and he prays. And so, of course, wasa wakamfuata, juu walikuwa wanajua that trap was for him, wakamshika, wakamkamata, Goobie, goody.
Kufunikwa ndo Goobie.
Kufunikwa ndo Goobie. Kukamatwa nini? Haya. Wakambeba juu. Anyway. And they go to the king. And they ask the king, didn't you, excuse me, we are sorry, but didn't you say msiote mwenye ana worship
any other person apart from you?
King anasema yes, nilisema. Lakini na see you had sealed it with so you cannot reverse the law. Basi tumepata kuna one Jew, an exile here. Anajiona kerere sana. Hata siku ijaisha ameisha disobey law. Nani huyo? Daniel. Anaanza namita, oh my goodness, this was a trap. Because the king really loved Daniel. Hii ilikuwa trap. Man, sasa itakuwa aje? And the king was determined to get Daniel off the hook. As in, he did his best to try and go around the law. But masawa sawa kamshika wakamwambia tu bro, you ulisha sign na ndio ujama. So akasema sawa, and then imemtupe kwa hiyo Daniel Lions. And they take Daniel and they go and literally throw him in that den, literally inside, and they cover the den with a stone, a big stone. And the king seals it with his signet ring and some rings of some nobles. Ndio sasa isibrekiwe, asitolewe te whatever, mpaka sasa the following day. And Daniel king akambia tu Daniel ni aje, may your God whom you serve so diligently, may he rescue you. And the king went, and the whole night he wouldn't talk to anyone, he wouldn't eat or drink, and he couldn't sleep. Asubuhi ngware, huyo mbio hadi kwa den, and he goes and he shouts, Daniel, did the God whom you serve so diligently rescue you? Was he able to rescue you? And Daniel says, my king, yes, God sent an angel and he shut the mouths of the lions, and they were not able to harm me the whole night, because he found me innocent in his sight, and because he determined that I was not guilty of sinning even against you. I have not wronged you. Akasema mtu weni teke sana. Na venye alitolewa sasa ndio akakula moto, akasema wako wapi wale walikuwa wamekuja kuku leta hao. Wakachukuliwa wakarushwa kwa den, and the third parties walirushwa kwa den, not just them but with their families. So ladies bana, the guy you marry, the guy you decide to date, shida zake zitakuramba. It's just what it is. Yani wewe ushaona msichana tu mzuri mrembo, anateseka tu juu ya hazi. Yani ni juu hazi tu. Anyway, think about it. And so they are thrown, the whole family is thrown into the den. And the Bible says that before hata wafike kwa ground, the lions zilikuwa zishawarukia and they tore them apart. Before hata wafike kwa ground. And the king issued a decree that the God who rescued Daniel, huyo ndo God wa kweli, huyo ndo mumworship. Now, I want us to compare these two stories as we come to a conclusion. Story number 1. These two guys are going through a very difficult time. Abraham is going to sacrifice his son, his only son, who he waited 100 years to get, whom he loves dearly. God has promised is the one who's going to form the great nation. And God is telling him, kill him. Now, Paul says, is it Paul? No. It is Hebrews. We don't know the author of Hebrews. Though mi nashuku inaweza kuwa maybe ilikuwa Paul, ama Luke, ama maybe Apollos. But wanga nashuku sana ilikuwa Paul. But anyway, I don't know. Anasema that Abraham hoped against hope. And he believed in his heart that God was able to raise this child from the dead. You know? And as he is going to kill him, God says, stop. There are those situations where God will rescue you just in the nick of time. Just about when it's about to happen. Just almost happened to, you know. But there are also situations where God will allow you to get into that very thing that unaogopa. Daniel, case in point. God could have rescued him. God could, and it would have still been a miracle story. And something really happened, na Daniel akuingia kwa Daniel Lions. You get. Ilifika tu hapo sijui nani wakafungwa macho, wakakuwa blind, Daniel akaishia. Ama sijui nini. No. Daniel was thrown into the den. Daniel ndio huyu anaenda. Aki manzena ndio hizi Aki na ndio ile den. Haya God way. Tulikuwa serious. No, I know you are able to rescue me. Why aren't you saving me? Haya by the way. Haya ndio mawe inatolewa. Haya Simba ndio hizi. Haya ndio huyu mimi ninarushwa ndani. You get. Same case na his friends before. Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego. Guy, moto ndio hii. Tumekataa sawa tuta worship lakini God bana tulikuwa tumesema utatusave. By the end guy ndio hiyo inaongezwa moto 7 times. Haya ndio sisi tumefungwa. Haya aki moto ndio watu mnarushwa ndani. You get. And as Christians, most of us want this situation in quotes. Karibu niseme brackets. In quotes, yeah, Abraham, where God saves us before it happens, you know. But sometimes God will allow you to get into that situation. Urushwe hapo kwa moto. Urushwe kwa the lion's den. Umeingia na ile ulikuwa unajua God atanisave, but he allows you to enter. The sisters of Lazarus, actually, was it Mary or Martha, when Lazarus died? And Lazarus was a friend of Jesus. You know, they had sent word to Jesus and they were like, imagine your friend is unwell. Come do something. And when Jesus heard that, he stayed where he was. I think it was 4 more days or whatever. And when he's finally coming to the home of Lazarus, man is dead. Man has been dead 4 days. He was buried and everything. As in situation, he may die. And you know, the sister is thinking, akikam atamheal, alafu atadai. Like death is the final thing you get. And Jesus comes after. And you know, I can sense the frustration. I'm like, man, you are too late. And there are us in situations sometimes where we're like, God, you are too late. You should have come a bit earlier, you know. But Jesus comes and he tells Mary or Martha, I don't remember which one it was. It was one of those two sisters. Anamwambia, your brother will rise from the dead. And she's like, I know he will rise on the day of the resurrection. But manzi ungekaa mjuu. And Jesus responds with an answer that is so brilliant. He tells him, I am the resurrection. No other person in history who was worshipped or whatever has ever made such a bold statement. Buddha alisema, I am seeking enlightenment. Maybe I do not have the answers. I want to be enlightened. Jesus said, I am the light. Muhammad aliuliza, what does it mean? Muhammad, when he was dying, akaulizwa, are you going to heaven? Akasema ajui. In fact, Muhammad aliambiwa his parents were in hell. He did not have all the answers. Jesus said, I am the resurrection. And he called Lazarus, and Lazarus rose from the dead. Isitoshe, nilikuwa nataka kusema fauka ya hayo. Isitoshe. Jesus
ongeza mithilia.
Jesus himself, the resurrection, tastes death. And he rose from the dead himself. This man must be who he claimed he was. Must be. And so in the situations that we are in, we normally pray that God enyewe rescue us. Let us not fall into this and this and this. But even if you do, and the situation looks like it's dead and it's gone, and it looks like God yani is allowing those things to happen, he's still in charge. Death does not stop him. Death does not end things. Dead situations are not the end. God has power over death, and he has power past it. As in, that's why we ask, where, oh death, is your sting? Where? As in, Jesus has power over all of that. And so, let me say one more thing. As much as the lions' mouths were closed, Daniel had to stay with them the whole night. Unajua tunafikirianga tu mdomo zilizimwa.
Alafu zikaacha kufanya shughuli kutaka kumkula.
Imagine uko hapa na umewekwa na masimba lakini zimefungwa mdomo. Will you be comfortable? It won't. It is still scary.
Yes,
it is still very scary. And he stayed through the night. Make an imagine Christians too asai. Lions ndio hivi. God has shut their mouth, but we are just complaining. God, sasa hivi simba. Toa, remove them. I am scared. Remove them, and their mouths have been shut. Christians. Modern day Christians. I can imagine modern day Christians being thrown into the flame. Because Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the king had given them a chance to bow down. Na kwanza wakaongea mbaya. Si ati hao ndio waliongea mbaya, wakasema by the way bro, hapa kuna kujitetea, tunafaa kujitetea. There is nothing to defend ourselves in this matter. God will rescue us. And even if he doesn't, we won't bow. Unaget. Na wakarushwa kwa moto. And sometimes God will allow us to get into the fire. Only so that he can show his power, his true mind. You get. And by the time walikuwa wanatolewa, only the ropes zenye zilikuwa zimebind zilikuwa. Not even a hair had been burned. Hawakuwa hata na harufu ya moshi ya moto. And sometimes you realize after that you went through a fire. You never got burnt. You might have felt the heat of the fire, but you never got burnt. Because God put you through. And I'm telling you, the guys who went through the fire come out with greater testimony and greater faith than the persons who were rescued, than the people who were rescued from the fire, from just before they entered the fire. So I'm going to compare and contrast those two events and bring that. I'm not saying moja is stronger than the other one. I'm just saying God sometimes works the way he chooses. He's sovereign. But those situations, and that situation you're in, haijadedi. It is not the end. There is still hope. Even after it is gone, even after the divorce has already happened. God is in charge. As long as God is in charge, there is still hope. Even after, the the death itself has happened, even after biashara imechomeka na insurance wameruka, there is still hope. Even when kwanza the situation is hopeless kabisa, that is when actually God now comes in and shows himself mighty. Nilikuwa nataka tu kuongea hayo tu machache kwa sasa, unless you have thoughts on it.
Kuna mtu amesikia ukisema machache akafungua mdomo akishangaa hiyo ni machache aje. So when you are talking, two aspects that came to me. And the first one, who is God in your life? In the sense that, am I serving God because of the benefits, or am I serving God because he is God? The second aspect was, everything we have belongs to him. And if it belongs to him, it means he can take it whenever he wants. And I won't feel, nikiwa na hii ndo na feel God unanipenda. Because I'm serving him because of who he is. And that's how we try, or that's how I try to approach life. Knowing the connections, everything that is in my disposal, all belongs to him and should work for his glory. And I do events, I am in different ministry, and for us when we say events, it's ministry that we call events. And a previous event we did, it was on Thursday. The event is happening on Sunday. Had it go place we need to cancel this event because nothing.
It's not looking.
The only thing tumeconfirm ni your children, so tunaenda hiyo peke yake, but anything else now we don't have. And I remember sitting down with one of my leaders, her Mercy. Mercy akarant yake yote about sijui nini idafanyika. Then I asked, so what would you like us to do? All this has not happened. The best thing you can do, just go and pray about it and we relax. On Saturday, a hospital I was part of previously, they text me from Noya. We've confirmed you're available for the medical camp on Saturday. On Sunday. The event was on Sunday. Another group comes in. We had promised we'll give you money. Aki makosa ni yetu. Sijui treasurer. When you ulisema hao accountants. Waka come through, they sent money. Another group that we've never even done an event with them. They're like, is it possible for us to plant trees in that event? Waka show up na trees with donation for that. The end of the day for that event, you look at it and you look at the photos, you feel like, wow,
these are
wamejipanga. And we laugh with Mercy. Actually, we almost cancelled this event because we didn't have all this. And I remember even I met someone in that event, and she asked, how do you get to do all this? Like, because I remember the specific question she asked was, how did you get this hospital to be part of this?
Of this event,
How much did they charge you? Namwambia hata kutulipisha hata
partnership.
Niambia hata mchezo. How does that happen? And you've even experienced this testimony with me in the sense that things happen in my life or around me that I can only testify that it is God's doing. It is not man's doing. And many a times we stand here and we speak to people, and this you've experienced 1,001 times, especially in our journey in ministry. Your life might look all together. Sometimes we do ministry na hadi saa hizo ndo umetoka home ukistressiwa na landlord juu ya rent ujaisort. But you give your all. And how amazing it is, God shows up and gives the exact amount that and sometimes I do najita meeting mbona sikuitisha mob but you see your problem was this. All I'm trying to say is everything we have belongs to God. And if we are worshiping him, it means even if he takes it away, he knows the end of it. think of it if these people decided acha tu to worship tusiingizwe kwa hii den of life.
Manzi, God will understand.
God will understand.
Tutapatana na God uko mbele.
Abraham akijustify akiata God when ulisema you make me a father of many nations. Sasa nikisacrifice huyu so not itakuwa when unaenda against your word. And I feel most Christians kwa hiyo space here
we would do that.
We would justify our actions rather than obedience. And there is a rapper called Shem. He used to belong to a group called Wanono Family.
I know Shem.
Yes, he talks about obedience does not depend on whether the orders make sense. Obedience is you obey.
It is obedience.
What you've been told to do. Whether these orders make sense or not.
There you go. Mimi hata sitaongeza anything. Sitaongeza anything. Obey, send me and I'll go. Ni hivyo. Thank you so much for joining us. It has been a good one. It has been hii nilikuwa nataka tu. Actually nimeshare mostly from my heart. Yes, you may notice I wasn't referring to my notes sana. But it's something we need to consider pia sana. And thanks for nini. Naona siku hizi umekuwa mdeep. Sasa nataka anza kutembea na Moz na Casti. Angalau anze kuchimba
kusema they're beyond repair lakini I'll try my best.
We hawezi kuona.
No, baya maneno ya Mungu achana nayo.
Maneno ya Mungu achana nayo. Tumesema tu God specializes in kesi kaizo.
Acha tu obey.
Anyway, follow us on our social media pages. I am Rebel Podcast, Instagram and TikTok. On this video, give us a thumbs up. It really helps with the algorithm. Comment. Actually, kama umefika mwisho, comment na nini? Obedience. Comment with the word obedience. Yes, comment with that. And then share it with a friend. Share it with a friend. People need to hear this. We need to get it out. Na kauja subscribe. Tutakutia joy. Sawa sawa.
Paulize tu Casti.
Paulize tu Casti. It's been great. It's been awesome. And thanks to all of you for your support. And thanks to everyone who's in here. Mrembo Kashwa Sa. Thank you for being here. Haya. Sawa sawa. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. Until next time.
Bye.